This video is brought to you by Global Men's Wellness, your 24/7 AI health expert. No copays, waiting rooms, or awkward conversations. Just real answers whenever you need them. Visit globalmenswellness.com to try it free and get your own on-demand concierge-level wellness expert today.
Welcome back, everyone, to the 21st Century Man podcast. Today we're tackling a pretty inspiring chapter.
Oh, yeah.
Chapter 98.
Inspiration.
Inspiration from the book, The 21st Century Man.
Right.
And for this deep dive, we have an incredible perspective to share with you from the author, Brian Bandmiller. He's got decades of experience as a broadcast journalist.
Oh, yeah.
Interviewing people from, all walks of life.
Yeah.
Business leaders.
Politicians,
media personalities.
celebrities,
you name it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what I think is really cool about this chapter?
Yeah?
Is that Brian was actually invited to contribute to this book by Dr. Judson Brandeis.
Oh, wow.
And he initially considered writing about humility.
Humility, okay.
But he felt that sharing the inspiring stories he'd collected over his career would resonate more with readers, and particularly men his age. Like the 21st century man.
I think that was a really smart choice because, who isn't looking for a little inspiration these days?
Yeah, right.
And so in this deep dive, we're going to follow Brian's lead.
Okay.
And explore the qualities that he found most inspiring in some really remarkable people.
Yeah, and I think what's so powerful about his approach is that it's not just about these larger-than-life figures,
Right.
It's about the specific moments, the choices, the actions that reveal those inspirational qualities.
We're gonna cover a lot of ground. We're gonna be looking at people from business,
Politics,
and medicine.
Ooh, medicine. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and through these stories, we'll uncover some really key facts, some really actionable takeaways that you can actually apply in your own life.
Right.
And of course, we'll break down any jargon or complex concepts along the way.
That's important. We want to make sure everyone's following along and getting the most out of this deep dive.
Absolutely.
Okay, so where should we start?
Well, Brian kicks things off in the business world with a name everyone knows, Charles Schwab.
Oh, yeah, Charles Schwab. Big name. What's the take on him?
Well, Brian really admires Schwab. He sees him as this incredible success story. Someone who built an empire, really, from practically nothing. A true entrepreneur.
And Schwab revolutionized how regular people like you and me invest, right?
Yeah, and that's what's so fascinating. It wasn't just about building wealth for himself. He really wanted to make investing accessible to everyone.
Okay, but I got to imagine starting a business like that had its challenges, right?
Absolutely. Can you imagine starting a business and within the first year facing six-figure debt?
Oh.
That's got to be crushing.
Yeah, and he was a young father at the time too, right? Had a family to support.
Exactly. That level of financial pressure early on, it would just derail so many ventures. But somehow Schwab found a way to push through.
Resilience. That's the word that comes to mind.
It really is. And, and what makes his story even more incredible is that Schwab also struggled with dyslexia.
Oh, wow. Dyslexia. That's a learning difference that affects reading and writing, right?
Yeah, and it can make certain tasks incredibly challenging. But Schwab didn't let it hold him back. He built this huge, influential company, and he became a role model for so many people with learning differences.
That's a powerful message. What were some of the key moments in his journey, would you say?
Well, Brian highlights the importance of adaptation learning from setbacks. Think about it. Schwab had initial success, then went through a really rough period when the company was sold to Bank of America. Brian actually describes it as a near disaster.
Okay, so what did he do?
Well, he didn't give up. He orchestrated this really clever leveraged buyout. Now, that's essentially a strategy where you acquire a company using a lot of borrowed money.
Ah, so it's a high risk, high reward kind of thing.
Exactly. And it allowed him to regain control. But then, he had to navigate those major market crashes like 87 and 2000.
Oh, yeah. Those were huge.
Yeah, existential threats to any brokerage firm. And yet Schwab persevered. Today, the company manages, get this, over $3 trillion.
Wow, $3 trillion.
In client assets.
That's unbelievable.
It's just mind-blowing.
And that's a testament to that resilience you were talking about. It's not just about being tough, but about being adaptable, right?
Yeah.
Being willing to change course when necessary.
Exactly. And Brian actually shares this really cool personal story about Schwab.
Oh, I like those. Let's hear it.
So when Brian was launching a new business show,
okay,
Schwab readily agreed to record a radio commercial endorsing him.
Wow, that's pretty generous.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something you'd expect from someone of Schwab's stature, but it shows a certain humility.
Absolutely. And it speaks to the power of mentorship and supporting others, especially when they're starting out.
Brian was really touched by that gesture. It led to some really insightful interviews with Schwab over the years.
So you're saying that real inspiration can come from unexpected places, and even simple acts of kindness can have a lasting impact.
Exactly. And Brian emphasizes that Schwab was always very open about his own struggles with dyslexia.
Oh, that's right.
He shared his experiences to encourage others. That kind of vulnerability. It's a hallmark of great leadership. It helps people connect on a much deeper level.
It makes you realize that even incredibly successful people face challenges and have insecurities. It's humanizing, isn't it?
Yeah. And it wasn't just about sharing his story. Schwab also encouraged his employees
Oh, how so?
to really develop their public speaking skills, to take up sports like tennis and golf to build confidence.
Wow, that's interesting. Like promoting well-roundedness.
Exactly. And that commitment to providing the younger generation with those tools for success, along with his incredibly popular books on investing, have had a huge positive impact on millions of people.
So Schwab's legacy goes way beyond just building a company, right? It's about empowering others. It's about sharing his knowledge and experiences.
Exactly. And that's a really powerful form of inspiration, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. So moving on from Schwab, who else does Brian talk about?
Well, he introduces us to another incredibly successful business leader, John Chen.
John Chen. Now, he's most known for his role at BlackBerry, right?
Yeah. But Brian focuses on a lesser-known but equally inspiring chapter in Chen's career.
Ooh, interesting.
His turnaround of a company called Sybase.
Sybase, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that one. What was the story there?
Well, Chen managed to completely transform this struggling software company.
Mm.
And ultimately, he sold it to SAP for, get this, $5.8 billion.
$5.8 billion. That's a big deal. So this was before his time at BlackBerry.
Exactly. And Brian suggests that this experience was actually crucial in giving Chen the skills to later tackle the huge challenges that he faced at BlackBerry.
So you're saying his experience at Sybase was like a training ground for navigating difficult situations.
You could say that, yeah. And one of the key takeaways from Chen's journey, and I think this is really relevant for our listeners, is his early recognition of just how important communication skills are.
That makes sense. Communication is key in any leadership role.
Absolutely. And in one of Brian's interviews with Chen for his radio show, Chen revealed that he actually sought out professional public speaking coaching when he was just 17 years old.
17. That's incredibly young to be thinking about that kind of thing.
I know, right? It's a testament to his self-awareness and his foresight. He knew that to be successful, he needed to be able to communicate effectively.
And he had a strong academic background, didn't he?
Yeah, he had degrees from Brown.
Caltech.
In engineering, right?
In engineering, exactly. So he had the technical expertise.
But he recognized that communication was equally important, if not more so.
Exactly. And his first job at a company called Unisys in Los Angeles.
Okay.
He had this realization. He observed that non-Asian engineers were often getting promoted over him, even if they weren't necessarily more qualified.
And he attributed that to communication skills or a lack thereof?
Well, it was actually his boss who pointed it out to him. He told him his presentation skills weren't quite up to par, especially for sales pitches.
Oh, wow. That kind of direct feedback can be tough to hear, but it sounds like it was a turning point for him. It absolutely was.
Yeah.
And to Chen's credit, he didn't just ignore the feedback.
No.
He took action. He and his wife,
Sherry,
scraped together $2,000 for 6 public speaking lessons.
Wow. That's a significant investment.
It was, especially at that point in their lives. And Chen actually described his initial performances as, quote unquote, alarming and embarrassing.
He didn't hold back. So he clearly had some work to do, but he was willing to put in the effort. That's admirable.
It is. And it paid off. Brian mentions that after the coaching, Chen saw a real improvement in his communication skills, and that contributed to his career advancement at Unisys.
So the investment literally paid for itself.
In a way, yeah. Unisys ended up reimbursing him for the cost of those lessons.
Oh, wow.
They recognized the value of that investment in personal development.
That's great. And now we see him all the time on CNBC, articulating his ideas with confidence.
Right. It's pretty amazing to see the transformation. And, Chen's story is particularly inspiring for immigrants because he really emphasizes the importance of strong presentation and language skills for navigating the global economy. And he's backed that up with action. He's involved with organizations like the Committee of 100, where he encourages young Asian professionals to focus on those skills.
That's so important, especially in today's increasingly interconnected world. And it's not just about business success for him either, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Chen's also involved with the First Tee.
Okay, what's that?
It's an organization that uses golf to teach young people life skills and core values.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and he's a sponsor of the Ladies Professional Golf Association.
So he's really dedicated to giving back to the community and supporting others.
Absolutely, and I think that's another important aspect of inspiration, right? It's about recognizing that we're all interconnected and that we have a responsibility to help each other.
Okay, so we've talked about Schwab and Chen. Who's next on Brian's list of inspirational figures?
Well, the next person is a household name, someone whose impact extends far beyond the business world.
Let me guess. Bill Gates.
You got it? Bill Gates.
yeah.
I mean, the name itself is synonymous with technological innovation.
Yeah, Microsoft.
Microsoft, right.
Windows.
Yeah, Windows. And more recently, with his massive philanthropic efforts.
Right. He's become a global icon for philanthropy, tackling some of the world's most pressing problems. But let's start with his early days. What made him so successful in the first place?
Well, Brian points out that Gates had this incredible drive from a very young age. Imagine this. He sold his first computer program when he was just 17.
17, come on.
For $4,200.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and then he dropped out of Harvard
Harvard.
to pursue his passion. His first job was actually as a computer programmer for TRW.
Okay, so he had the technical skills and the vision, even back then.
Absolutely. And in 1975, he founded Microsoft with his partner Paul Allen.
And the rest is history. But his story really takes on a whole new dimension when you look at his philanthropic journey.
Yeah, and that began in earnest in 1994 with the establishment of the William H. Gates Foundation, which initially focused on global health issues.
Right, tackling diseases like polio and malaria in developing countries.
Exactly. But then he expanded his focus. He created the Gates Library Foundation.
Oh, I remember that. Providing computers and internet access to public libraries, right?
Yeah, and the Gates Learning Foundation, which aimed to improve educational opportunities for low-income minority students.
It's amazing how he saw the potential of technology to address these really critical social issues.
It is. And eventually, all these foundations merged into the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in 2000.
Which is now one of the most influential and well-funded philanthropic organizations in the world.
It really is. And what's so inspiring about Gates's approach to philanthropy is that it's not just about writing checks.
Right. It's about using his influence and his intellect to really drive change on a global scale.
Exactly. And Brian highlights the ripple effect that Gates's philanthropy has had. It actually inspired Warren Buffett
Warren Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha.
to significantly increase his own charitable giving.
Wow, and that led to the creation of the Giving Pledge, right?
Yes, the Giving Pledge. It's this incredible initiative where billionaires commit to donating the majority of their wealth to philanthropic causes during their lifetimes or in their wills.
That's a pretty big commitment. So Gates is essentially changing how the world's wealthiest people think about their wealth and their responsibility to give back.
That's exactly what Brian argues. And the numbers are staggering. Gates himself has donated over $50 billion so far.
$50 billion.
And over 200 other incredibly wealthy families have joined the Giving Pledge, inspired by Gates's example.
It's like he's created a whole new standard for what it means to be a successful philanthropist.
He really has. And Brian actually shares some really interesting personal observations from interviewing Gates over the years.
Oh, let's hear those. I love those little behind-the-scenes stories.
So Brian remembers his first interview with Gates back in the mid-'80s. And he paints this picture of a young, somewhat awkward guy.
Yeah.
Kind of ill at ease in an off-the-rack suit, you know.
Really? Not the polished Bill Gates we see today.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And Brian even mentions that he had dandruff.
Too much information, maybe.
Well, it just shows that even someone like Bill Gates, who's achieved so much, started out as, just a regular person.
Humanizing him a bit.
Exactly. And in later interviews, Brian noticed a real transformation.
Okay.
Gates was impeccably dressed, confident, even brought his own camera crew for lighting.
Wow. Talk about a glow up. So it sounds like Gates has evolved significantly over the years.
He really has.
Yeah.
And Gates' longtime PR person actually offered this humorous observation. She said that Gates had become, quote unquote, very rich and married the right partner.
So maybe Melinda Gates deserves some credit for that transformation too. But it's interesting how wealth and experience can shape someone's persona.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so we've explored inspiration in the business world. What about politics? Does Brian offer any insights there?
He does. And it's a really interesting theme. He talks about this sort of lost old guard of politicians
Old guard.
who really valued compromise.
Yeah.
Working across the aisle.
Bipartisanship.
Yeah, bipartisanship.
Yeah.
Finding common ground despite their differences, which is something that feels so rare in today's political climate.
I agree. It seems like everything is so polarized these days.
Right. So Brian starts by discussing George Deukmejian.
George Deukmejian. Okay. Remind me, who was he again?
He was a two-term Republican governor of California. And Brian includes this really powerful quote from Sherry Beebich Jeffy.
Sherry Beebich Jeffy. Is she a political analyst?
Yeah, she is. She described Deukmejian as this, very conservative Republican, tough on crime.
Okay, pretty traditional conservative value.
Yeah. But she also said that he could and did work across the aisle with Democrats. And she lamented that we may never see that kind of political environment again.
That's a pretty sobering thought. So Deukmejian was able to find common ground with his political opponents, even in a time when things were probably less divisive than they are now.
That's exactly what Brian's suggesting.
What was his background like? Was there anything in his personal history that might have contributed to the ability to compromise?
Well, he was actually the son of Armenian immigrants.
Oh, wow.
So he really understood the immigrant experience, the value of hard work and perseverance. He served as an assemblyman, state senator, and attorney general.
Okay.
Before narrowly defeating Tom Bradley for governor in 1982. And then he won a landslide second term.
He must have been a popular guy. What were some of the key issues he championed?
Well, his platform was really focused on being tough on crime.
Okay.
And no new taxes,
Mm-hmm.
which, resonated with a lot of Californians at the time. And Brian actually worked on Deukmejian's campaign for attorney general.
Oh, so he had some firsthand experience with Deukmejian and his political style.
Yeah. He describes it as his introduction to the rough and tumble world of political campaigning.
I bet. And does he share any specific stories about Deukmejian that illustrate his commitment to compromise or bipartisanship?
He does. He tells this really great story about
Yeah.
Deukmejian's dedication to engaging with voters.
Okay.
So they were on a really tight schedule
Mm.
for a major radio interview.
Okay, big audience.
Yeah, huge audience. And Deukmejian insisted on calling a voter from Brian's office
What?
to personally explain his stance on the death penalty.
He took the time to talk to one voter when he had this massive radio interview coming up. Why?
Well, this voter had called in with some concerns, and Deukmejian felt it was important to address those concerns directly.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. It shows real commitment to his constituents. Did he win over that voter?
Actually, no, he didn't. But Brian says that Deukmejian's willingness to connect with voters on that personal level, to really listen and explain his positions, ultimately contributed to his success.
So it's about more than just winning votes, right? It's about building trust and engaging in meaningful dialogue with people, even those who might disagree with you.
Exactly. And Brian contrasts that approach with the way politics is often conducted today.
Where it's all about sound bites and scoring points.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about George Deukmejian. Who else does Brian discuss in the realm of politics?
Well, he turns next to John McCain.
John McCain, the Arizona senator.
Yeah, a true American icon,
So-
war hero.
Right, a prisoner of war in Vietnam.
Exactly. And a public servant for over 30 years.
He was known for his independent streak, wasn't he? Often willing to break with his party when he felt it was the right thing to do.
He was a champion of compromise, even when it was politically unpopular.
And he had this incredible resilience. I remember when he was diagnosed with brain cancer.
Yeah.
He faced it with such courage and grace. It was really inspiring to see.
It was. And Brian references a biography of McCain written by Elaine Povich.
Okay, what's the title?
It's called John McCain, American Maverick.
American Maverick. That seems fitting. What does the book highlight about him?
Well, it covers his whole life.
Yeah.
His childhood, this is the son and grandson of admirals.
Harry Fammer.
His really harrowing experience as a POW in Vietnam, and then, of course, his long career in Congress and the Senate.
So it sounds like a pretty comprehensive portrait of a really complex and fascinating figure.
It is. And Brian points out that even in the face of incredible adversity, McCain never lost his moral compass.
His integrity.
His integrity, yeah.
That seems to be a recurring theme in the people Brian finds inspiring. This strong sense of principle, even when it's difficult.
And a willingness to, to stand up for what they believe in, even when it's unpopular.
Right. Speaking of standing up for what you believe in, wasn't McCain known for his temper?
He was. But Brian actually shares a story that reveals a different side of him. He was doing a TV interview with McCain,
Okay.
and his cameraman actually suggested switching sides.
Switching sides.
Yeah, because McCain had this skin cancer scar on his left cheek.
Oh, so the cameraman was trying to be considerate.
He was. And unlike so many politicians who are super image conscious,
Oh, yeah.
McCain didn't care at all.
Really?
He was much more interested in answering the questions.
Substance over style.
Exactly. And I think it speaks to his authenticity,
Yeah.
his focus on what really mattered.
It's refreshing to hear about a politician who is more concerned with the content of his character than his appearance.
Isn't it?
So we've got Deukmejian and McCain, two very different politicians who both embodied the spirit of compromise and principled leadership. Does Brian connect those two in any way?
He does. He actually ties them together with this great quote from Winston Churchill.
Oh, I love Churchill quotes. Which one?
Courage is what it takes to stand up and speak. Courage is also what it takes to sit down and listen.
That's a good one. How does that relate to Deukmejian and McCain?
Well, Brian argues that real political courage isn't just about standing up for your beliefs.
Right. It's also about being willing to listen to opposing viewpoints, even when they're difficult to hear.
Exactly. And that kind of courage, he says, is essential for finding common ground and building consensus, which is, increasingly rare in today's political climate.
It's a message we could all use a reminder of, for sure.
Absolutely. Now, the chapter takes a bit of a somber turn when Brian discusses a really tragic event in San Francisco's history.
Oh, is this about the assassinations of George Moscone and Harvey Milk?
Yeah. In 1978, both the mayor of San Francisco, George Moscone, and supervisor Harvey Milk were murdered by a former supervisor.
That was a devastating event for the city and for the country.
It really was. And Brian, he describes Moscone as reflecting the beautiful diversity of San Francisco. He talks about his strong leadership, his compassion for the less fortunate, and he suggests that those qualities helped shape San Francisco into the progressive city it is today.
So Moscone's legacy lives on in the city's values and its commitment to social justice.
It really does. And Brian includes a really poignant quote from Moscone's son, Christopher. He said, "My father was a strong leader, passionate. He stood for what he stood for, and that was that. And that's what we need a little more of now."
That's a powerful statement, and it speaks to the kind of principled leadership that we've been talking about.
Exactly. And Moscone's other son, Jonathan, talked about his father's ability to get along with everyone, his optimistic view of politics.
He seems like a genuinely good man.
He was. And Brian actually shares his last memory of Moscone. He was having a beer with him and the fire chief, Andy Castor.
Just hanging out with the mayor, having a beer. That's pretty cool.
It was. And Brian says that Moscone was just, well-loved by everyone.
So his legacy is one of inclusivity, compassion, and really just a deep love for San Francisco and its people.
Absolutely. And then Brian turns to Harvey Milk. Now, his story is it's remarkable. He was a small business owner.
Right, he ran a camera shop, didn't he?
He did. And then he became one of the first openly gay elected officials in the U.S. in 1977.
That's groundbreaking, especially considering the time period.
It really was. And, his appeal went way beyond the gay community. He worked on issues like childcare, affordable housing, police review.
So he was a champion for all San Franciscans, not just one particular group.
Exactly. And Brian shares this really interesting story about a Thursday club luncheon he attended with Milk.
The Thursday Club, what's that?
Well, it was this kind of invitation-only event, and the guest speaker was never actually allowed to speak.
What? That's kind of strange.
I know, right? But apparently it was all in good fun. There were all these humorous disruptions, like a firefighter who played loud records.
Oh, that's funny.
And then there was this joke about not serving chicken for Milk, which, looking back, it's a little insensitive.
Yeah, a bit off color, maybe.
But at the time, it was all meant to be lighthearted. Except Brian noticed that supervisor Dan White.
Dan White, the man who would later assassinate Moscone and Milk.
Yeah. He was sitting there, completely silent, scowling.
So even in this supposedly lighthearted setting, you could sense the tension and the animosity.
Yeah, it's chilling in retrospect. And Brian talks about how White's conservative views were increasingly at odds with the progressive direction of San Francisco, and that ultimately led to his resignation as supervisor.
So he felt like he was being pushed out.
It seems that way, yeah. And then, tragically, he went back to City Hall armed, demanding his job back from Moscone.
And when Moscone refused...
He shot and killed both Moscone and Milk.
It's a horrific story. And what's even more disturbing is that White's lawyers used what became known as the Twinkie defense.
Yeah, arguing that his heavy consumption of junk food had contributed to his diminished mental capacity.
That's unbelievable. And of course, it sparked outrage, particularly in the gay community,
It did. And it led to the White Night riots.
where protesters clashed with police, demonstrating the raw anger and grief over these senseless murders.
Exactly. And Brian points out that while Dan White is now just a footnote in history,
Yeah.
the legacies of Moscone and milk continue to inspire people around the world.
They've become symbols of hope and progress, especially for marginalized communities.
There are buildings named after them, including the Harvey Milk Terminal 1 at SFO, and the U.S. Navy even named a tanker after milk.
Wow. That's a powerful tribute. And of course, there's the Oscar-winning biopic Milk, starring Sean Penn.
Right, so their stories are being told and retold, ensuring that their message of tolerance and equality continues to reach new generations.
It's a reminder that even in the face of hatred and violence, the fight for justice and equality can prevail.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've covered some really heavy stuff, from inspiring business leaders to tragic political assassinations. What else does Brian explore in this chapter?
Well, in a really personal and moving section, Brian actually shares his own experience with a life-threatening illness.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful. He talks about how he was experiencing these recurring bouts of acute gastritis.
Gastritis, that's inflammation of the stomach lining, right?
Yeah, and it can be really painful. And his gastroenterologist.
Gastroenterologist, that's a doctor who specializes in the digestive system, right?
Yeah, a gut doctor. So his doctor suggested that he have an endoscopy.
Endoscopy, that's where they insert a thin, flexible tube with a camera into your digestive tract to examine it, right?
Right, and so Brian had the endoscopy at the same time as a colonoscopy.
A 2-for-1 special.
Pretty much, yeah. And during the endoscopy, they discovered that he had esophageal cancer.
Oh,
But the good news was that they caught it early.
thank goodness.
Yeah. And thankfully, it was treatable. So Brian underwent surgery with a world-renowned thoracic surgeon.
Thoracic, that means relating to the chest, right?
Exactly. A surgeon who specializes in the chest. His name was Dr. Wilson Tsai. And Dr. Tsai removed part of Brian's esophagus.
Wow, that's major surgery.
It was. And then he had to go through months of chemotherapy and 11 related surgeries
11 surgeries.
due to complications.
Oh, my goodness.
He kept his condition pretty private during all of this.
Yeah.
But he lost 40 pounds.
That's a lot. He must have been going through so much.
He was. But the good news is that he's now cancer-free.
That's amazing. What a fighter.
He is. And he wanted to share his story, as a warning to others.
Yeah.
Get tested early. It can literally save your life.
Take control of your health anytime, anywhere. Visit globalmenswellness.com and start your free trial today. Get expert-level answers in seconds, not weeks, without the cost, the wait, or the awkward conversations. Real support on your terms. Visit globalmenswellness.com now.